politics free, so we don't talk about politics. So just to let you know, so just putting that friendly reminder out there. This is a free zone, so we don't talk about that stuff. Anyway, with that said, Mike and Mary Beth, your feelings and what were your thoughts as far
I'll
as
let
just...
Mary Beth go first. I think she has stronger feelings about Bond than I do.
I might. I'm gonna give it 2 enthusiastic gold thumbs up because we're tonight, guys. If any of you tuned in to our show on Wednesday talking about the Man with the Golden Gun, you may hear some things repeated, but that's okay. This is the way I like my Bond. He's suave, he's debonair. When there's humor, it's cheeky, and mature. Like little kids don't get the joke, which I like. And yeah, this is how Bond should be as compared to other Bonds.
Well, we all agree Connery's the best. I mean, he's the original, and he's still the best Bond.
Yeah, agreed.
And as far as you're right, I was not born. I was when this movie came out. I can't even remember. I probably didn't see this movie until I was at least a teenager. Because as we talked about, Roy, you didn't see these movies unless they were on television. We didn't have VHS tapes to go rent. So, it was whenever ABC decided to rotate it through and this being by that time fairly old. I mean, it was old, it was already probably close to 20 years old. They didn't run it. They ran the newer stuff first.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. I was reading up about this. This film actually did make it into the 70s lineup. And I believe it was September 17th. And without looking at my notes, going through there's 100 pages in regards to information about this movie, because that's how popular and how strong it is. But it was on ABC, but it was, to your point, Mike, it was probably at least a good solid 8 to 10 years later. But when it was on, the ratings went out the roof because
But again, I was probably still too young to watch it.
Oh, you would have been. Yeah.
Bedtime was 8 o'clock,
Yeah.
No, definitely. I mean, what year were you born, Mike? If you don't mind me asking.
67.
67. Okay, I was 66. So yeah, I mean, we were probably around 5, 6, when this film was on. So I didn't start catching the Bond films until the later 70s, probably around on television around 75, mid 70s, 76, 77. I remember I wasn't watching these in Wallington. I was watching these when we were living out here. So I was at least 10 or 11 years old. So
yeah, my dad would watch them. Probably the closest thing he ever got to sci-fi.
Really?
He was not a science fiction guy. He was an engineer. He was very interested in the space program.
Yeah,
realistic stuff. But he took me to see Buck Rogers. The Gil Gerard Buck Rogers theater, and I think we saw Capricorn 1, and I saw something Nemo's Secret Island or something, one of those spin-off from, so he would take me to them, but I don't think he really sought them.
Yeah, and all those movies you're mentioning, Mike, were in the mid to later 70s. So
right, when a parent had to go with you before I could, you went with your friends or whatever.
It was definitely timing out. Well, and we had talked when I was on your show. The first James Bond movie I saw in the movie theater was in 79, and that was with Moonraker. So I was 13 years old at that time. So Lou is commenting. He said, my dad was a projectionist in 1964, and I saw this movie on the big screen when I was 7 years old. I was blown away at the time, and I still love it. I have to say that I had the fortune. Shari and I went to see this movie. It was at a theater that was up in East Stroudsburg in the Poconos. It was probably about 8 years ago, and they were showing it on the big screen. And to see it in a theater, I mean, it as much as we have our televisions, our big screen TVs that we sometimes can watch and everything, which is so cool. I mean, we're very fortunate to have this in this day and age, but there is still nothing compared to going into the movie theater, seeing a film on the silver screen. And
absolutely.
To see this Bond movie that way. In fact, my mom was just telling me that this was the first film that her and my dad saw together, because they started dating in 63. And their 60th wedding anniversary is coming up on January 9th of this coming year, 2025. So literally, it was right beforehand when before they got married that they saw this. Shari's saying, I saw it in the early 70s on TV. I was like 10, too young for it, probably. Lots of laughs. The girl that got painted gold freaked me out. Lots of laughs.
Yeah, we should talk about her. She is iconic. And not just in the Bond franchise. She was an iconic like symbol from the movies of that era. Actually, to this day, really. But of that, I mean, when you see her laying there, you know exactly who she is and what what it's from and everything. To this day.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was Shirley Eaton. And it's amazing. And actually, I'm going to put up a picture. So just to remind folks.
It was a bad movie for that family since both their daughters got killed.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the Mastersons. Yeah. Tilly, there she is.
Yep. And
although I don't think covering somebody in, I think that was debunked, that covering somebody in gold is not going to kill you.
Right. It's more, if anything, that they
does not breathe.
Overheat. Yeah, they can overheat from.
Yeah, maybe you could, but I don't.
It would be more like, I would think, blocking your pores than.
Yeah, it could. Maybe you couldn't.
I think it would take a very long time for you to die of that.
Yeah, but the suffocation was, like, to your point, was debunked. Now, something that I didn't realize that which is always cool doing these shows, because, you learn things because, we delve into the information and everything. Margaret Nolan, who played Dink, was actually covered in gold, and she was actually in the title sequence.
Oh, really?
Was in the beginning of the film. I always thought it was Shirley Eaton, and it is not. It was actually Margaret Nolan. In fact, for the soundtrack, when they were selling the albums, back then and everything, with John Barry's music and everything, she was actually on the cover of the album cover. It was not Shirley Eaton, and I thought it was, but it was Margaret Nolan. And sadly, she passed away just a few years ago. In fact, Shirley Eaton is the only surviving castmate that is actually in the opening, is in the credits, listed in the credits, that is still alive. But yeah.
So this is the third. This is our third, right? Because first was Dr. No, and then From Russia with Love.
Right.
I believe this was, and Roy, you probably know better than I do, but I believe this was the first incarnation of the pre-title sequence, so that little action sequence, and then that our opening song with Shirley Bassey singing Goldfinger with the girl painted in gold, as you were just mentioning. And this is one of the things that director Guy Hamilton brought to the series. And if you guys were with us on Friday, you heard me say, what was Guy doing? Why did he do this? Why did he do that? Tonight, I'm going to be like, Guy, you made some great choices. He did a bunch of really smart things for this movie, and that was one of them. So, yeah.
Yeah, the title sequences were absolutely amazing.
They won a lot of awards for them over the years for the different ones, the different films. They've won awards for the complexity and just the creativeness of all those opens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought what was particularly interesting too is as you're watching the opening sequence, and what they're doing is they're actually showing clips from the different movies. You're seeing film clips from Dr. No, you're seeing some scenes from Russia with Love, and then you're seeing clips from actually Goldfinger that's incorporated into the movie as the title sequence is going, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah,
it was very, very creative with the silhouette, so to speak.
Yeah. It became like a whole thing. They became their own little music videos almost. But by the 80s, by the time 80s and MTV came around, I remember seeing those like as little, little vignettes.
Well, you said many of the songs became like hit the charts. They were
chart toppers.
They were very high. Everybody, Goldfinger's one of them, but I think like I said, we were saying, Live and Let Die was probably one of the most popular. Even Spy Who Loved Me, and what was the Sheena Easton one?
View to a Kill,
all those ones were, For Your Eyes Only. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, just
Skyfall. Adele did Skyfall. Adele.
Yeah, So they continued that on right into the modern ones. But I think it's always been a hallmark of a Bond movie is those openings and the unique soundtrack, or it's really almost it's not, I wouldn't call it a soundtrack, it's a song, you know what I'm saying? It has like its own song. So
I love Shirley. I mean, this is my favorite out of Shirley Bassey did 3. She did this one. She also did Diamonds Are Forever, and then she also did Moonraker. But out of the 3, I would, in fact, in regards to the order that it goes, I probably would say it is kind of sequentially.
If you listen to Moonraker and this one, they're similar.
Yeah.
Goldfinger and Moonraker. I think she just kind of wrote. I think she kind of mailed that one in.
She really wasn't happy with Moonraker too. She was not. It's not. She was kind of disappointed with it. But it's not. I don't think it's bad by any means. But she put so much effort into this, and then there's almost like a little backstory too. They said that when she's holding that last note, she's really belting it out there, and she was watching. She's obviously watching the screen and trying to be in sync with the titles and everything, and it really comes through. Such a powerful voice. Peter saying that his favorite we were just talking about The Man with the Golden Gun on Mike and Mary Beth's show too, Pete, on Wednesday. Yeah, Lulu. And if you're a fan of the I think we were talking also 1967 film To Serve with Love, Lulu did the title song for that, and she was also in that movie.
Oh, that was a sweet film. Okay, that's cool.
Yes, and she appeared on the cover of Life magazine in 1964. Yes, that's right, Randy. But
the other thing I think this movie, it definitely, I think, ramped up the spycraft over the first two as far as the gadgets.
Yes.
I think we saw a lot more gadgets, and I think that's what was drawing people in, because we even see it. When we get to Thunderball, and they keep ramping it. Of course, the car is what's so iconic in this film. Is the DB5 Aston Martin, which Aston Martin would not give them two cars. They had to buy them.
Yeah, which changed after they did this movie.
Right, as soon as this movie hit, right, they had no
and suddenly it's like
cars were always free after this movie.
That was never a problem again.
I have to say, this is still the best looking Bond car
gorgeous.
Of all time, and it's a great looking car even without being a Bond car. It's just a beautiful car.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yes, Pete, absolutely about Judy Geeson. She was in Star Maidens. That's true. Very, very true. Jeff said, wow, Bassie only did 3. Shows how memorable her work was. I thought it was a lot more. Yeah. Now, what was your favorite? We were talking about this on Wednesday. What was your favorite Bond car?
Me? Oh, yeah, it's the BB5 by absolutely this one. The next one would be the Lotus.
Lotus, yeah, I agree.
And the Spy Who Loved Me Lotus, not the one. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a very similar car. The one that they did in, I think it was For Your Eyes Only. He had the one that it was like gold or orange, brown, weird color, and the one that blew up.
He blew it up.
It had the alarm system that you break the glass and the car just explodes.
Yeah,
kind of defeats the purpose, but at least the bad guy doesn't get the car.
Well, they're hiding. If Q is trying to, keep all his gadgets from falling into the wrong hands.
The BMW from I think it was the first Pierce Brosnan one. It wasn't. Maybe it was.
No, it was later because that was the
one where he was driving it with his phone.
Yeah, with his remote control.
Yeah, that one was. I mean, but it was just a BMW. It was like there was nothing like really cool about that car. I mean, other than the fact that it drove itself and it had the Frau Brücke driving it. Remember telling you to slow down and stuff. The car was telling you.
That was actually
avoiding the warranty. That was kind of funny.
And talking about the 2 Aston Martins, the first one went for sale in 2010. It sold for $4 million.
Yeah, there's not that many of those around, the DB5s. So if you have one in good condition,
put on it.
they're worth they're insane amount of money.
Yeah, and then the second one went for $250,000 in 1986. But then I think it became stolen. It was stolen somewhere in Florida. I think it was stolen at the airport. Something happened with that, but then they were able to retrieve it many, many years later. But it's pretty memorable. May is joining us from Canada. Welcome, May. Good to see you out there. Thanks for joining. Randy saying one of the DB5s using Goldfinger was, stolen in 1997 has been recovered. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But even just the car, so like that was a commercially available vehicle in the early 60s. You could go buy a DB5 if you had the money. And just those cars alone are worth millions today. Even the non-Bond version, so to speak.
The non-Bond version. The non-gadget.
The one that doesn't have all the gadgets and wasn't used in a film. It was just the DB5. It was great that they brought it back in. What was it, Spectre? That they brought it back in with the Daniel Craig one, where they brought it back, and then they blew it up.
Yeah.
They like it was. You know how heart wrenching it was to watch them destroy
That's like
that
us
car.
seeing the Enterprise get blown
Yeah,
up.
and then of course I think, and if you notice, and I think in the subsequent movie they show it rebuilt, that he rebuilt it. Like in the movie, he had that
again,
car
like
rebuilt,
Jordy
because I
rebuilding
think
the
so many
Enterprise of the
people were like,
car.
"Don't wreck the DB5."
We will not let go of our beloved vehicles.
Yeah, it was like
no matter what series it
Enterprise.
is,
It was like
doesn't
almost.
matter.
It was almost that level of watching the Enterprise crashing. You know, you're like, "No, not that car."
No,
It's always so painful.
not the Aston Martin.
But yeah, but this was the third film, the third one from the series. And you know, it was interesting too back then with the Bond movies, they were being released almost like every year. Dr. No came out in
they were coming out,
you know,
at a
from
pretty good
Lust for
clip.
Love, 63, and then this came out in 64. And this film was actually released sooner in the UK than in the US. So there was only like I think they said maybe like 11-month time difference between, or maybe even shorter, 9-month difference in the release time. So Bond was really, you know, on pretty strong, which is kind of cool. But now it's like you have to wait 3 years or sometimes even longer, depending upon the scenario, you know, for the release.
I think that's with any franchise film, though. I mean, we're not seeing them
like we used to
produced like that. And I mean, I think that stopped. Honestly, I think that stopped in the 70s. I mean, we look at the gap between Star Wars and Empire. You know, that was like what 3 years, almost 2.5 years, something like that between them. You'd think they would have been rushing to get those done, but
actually, believe it or not, in the 70s, it was essentially like a 2-year gap. The longest one went from The Man with the Golden Gun, which was in 74, to The Spy Who Loved Me in 77, but that was because they had Saltzman was pulling out, which we had discussed.
There was politics.
Exactly. And then from there on, it was going pretty much at a 2-year clip. But then when I really, you know, we're jumping around. We digress on this show. This is what we do, and people love it. So we're going to digress here.
Ari says she loves the ejector seat. You better.
Yeah, no, I'll call that thought, and I will come back. I will come back to that. That way, my
check next time she's driving, I'd be a little concerned.
For the clutch, right?
Yeah.
No, what I was going to say is though, with License to Kill, which is a favorite James Bond film of mine. I mean, Dalton sadly was pretty much fired after that, but 89 was a tough year. There was a lot of good movies out, and I'm not going to say Star Trek V was one of them because it wasn't, in my opinion. But the next James Bond film that would come out, it would literally be 6 years, before we would have a Bond film, and that was in 95, and then that was with Pierce Brosnan. So that was like the longest gap that had actually taken place. But yeah, going back now.
Well,
yes.
I think to your point is because the Timothy Dalton ones didn't do very well,
right?
And I think the studio was that still United Artists then, or was it, I think by then it had changed, right?
I'm not 100% sure. That's a great question. It may
but regardless, yeah, I think the money. You always got to follow the money with these things, and if they're saying maybe it's burned, because I thought maybe Bond's burned out, you know, and
yeah, sure,
they said that a couple times over the course.
A lot of people didn't like. And let's face it, the Roger Moore ones were starting to fall off. I mean, after Moonraker, they kind of went downhill from there. And
yeah, For Your Eyes Only was and then Octopussy was shaky ground. It had some good points, but to me, they should have ended it with Octopussy. Even Roger Moore even said that he probably shouldn't have done A View to a Kill. And then the irony was, you know, he was 57 years old, and I remember thinking, oh my God, he's 57.
Yeah, he's pretty. Yeah.
And now, you know, here's 58, right?
To me, what a waste of Christopher Walken's talent in that movie. They just, you know, it's like he just, I don't know. Yeah, so I think, but like I said, and then the change, I think that's when people started to go, yeah, it's just, I think, and there was a cultural change in the United States too. You know, there was a lot more progressiveness happening. So I think Bond was kind of in bad taste in a lot of ways.
I mean, we're not really focusing on the later years, but they did in their own way kind of sort of try. I mean, I don't know about Timothy Dalton, but I think by the time Daniel Craig stepped onto the scene, they were trying to modernize Bond and trying to.
They were.
You know.
They were rebooting. They literally were rebooting the franchise. They were taking everything out. They were starting from square one, where he was just this. He wasn't even a 00. I mean, he was.
They started with They started with Casino Royale.
Yeah, exactly.
So, which is the first book. So, have you ever done Casino Royale, the comedy, the one with Peter Sellers?
No, that's the one they have a lot of different Bonds. Like David Niven was in that.
Yeah, it was this parody. It was a spoof.
Was-
It was
yeah.
funny. It was funny. It was
Pretty fun to cover though.
Yeah, maybe we should do that one of these days because
Yeah,
that is a good one.
Just for fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And whatchamacallit, I was going to go, but there was a point that I wanted, and we'll circle back to this film, but there was something I wanted to bring up, and it was I'm kind of piggybacking off of a point that you made earlier, Mary Beth, about this was more your Bond in the sense of the way the character was.
Yeah.
We were talking about Bond, the Roger Moore Bond that was in The Man with the Golden Gun. And there were elements of that Bond that was really not so nice. And it was almost like they were trying to do elements that had been demonstrated by Sean Connery's Bond at different points. Not really so much in this film, I would say, but I would think more so in I don't know, Dr. No, perhaps.
Yeah, it's just the way Sean can pull things off and the way Roger can pull things off are different, and so you can't say, "Hey, Roger, can you do it like Sean?" I mean, they weren't doing that. They weren't really saying, "Hey, Roger, do it the way Sean did it." But to write it that way,
Right.
that was a mistake. They needed to take advantage of what Roger excelled at.
Yeah, but
And
here's the thing.
There were moments when he was great.
He was, but here's the thing. This is the one part I was like thinking about, and this was kind of like, after the fact. In fact, I was talking to Vince isn't out there tonight, but I was talking to Vince about this, that we got to see Roger Moore in Bond and experience him and see what he was capable of. But at this point, when this film came out, he hadn't really developed into, it's almost like he became a caricature of himself. It was, he definitely was more, I don't even want to say he was soft, but it was more
he had
late.
done The Saint, right?
He had done The Saint.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was completely familiar with Spy.
No. I agree with you about him being as an actor to be able to do it. But what I'm saying is demonstrating that with Bond, he wasn't given that liberty yet, and when he was given the liberty, it definitely came through, and he was really good at doing it, and that was the direction that they should have gone in.
Yeah, you're right.
But what I'm saying is we wouldn't have known it if we were just like watching it for the first time. Is what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah.
It's as it progressed. And then, it became the norm. And then you're reflecting back on it. It's like, why did they do that?
Yeah, well, exactly. But, Roger did the best he could with the scripts he was given and the direction he was given.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you have to also remember he was filling some really big shoes with Roger Moore. I mean, with
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Sean Connery had built the franchise up to this point, with the exception of On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Right.
And we can talk about Lazenby if you want, because I actually think he's the second best Bond of all. Honestly, I think he was great as James Bond, and I think he would have been. I don't think we would have seen, had he not screwed his career up, I don't think we would have seen Roger Moore. Maybe, or much later, maybe.
He may have.
I think he would have continued.
He might have. I mean, that's it. Yeah, it's the what if game there. We just don't know. I didn't like him as much to the level that you did, but I didn't think he was terrible. I didn't think he was awful. He's not one of my favorites, but I think with what he had and where he was coming in and his experience, I think he did a very good job. But he's just not for me.
I guess to me, his whole mannerisms and everything were just, to me, what Bond is. You know what I'm saying? He was just very sure of himself. He was very, still good with the women kind of thing, but he was, I just felt he just had the package there. And I think he was the closest to Connery in his portrayal. And then Roger was very different. And like I said, I think Roger had a rough start, and then I think he got much better. Of course, Spy Who Loved Me was probably one of their highest grossing films out of the series, period. I mean, it was because it was so universally accepted. It wasn't just, Bond fans and adolescent males that watched. Right. You know what I'm saying? It was like Star Wars, where everybody watched Spy Who Loved Me. So
no, he definitely had the following, definitely had the audience, and he was kind of getting into his own rhythm. And no, I am not a big fan. I don't like Live and Let Die. I'm not a fan of that movie. I am not a big fan of The Man with the Golden Gun. To your point, I would say probably The Spy Who Loved Me, Moonraker, and For Your Eyes Only are probably my three favorite Moore films. And then, going from there, I just want to say hi to Williams out there. and
Bill.
thanks for joining us. Or Bill, I
And
should
Chris
say.
is here. Hi, Chris.
Shadow is here. Yes.
Yes.
Hey, good to see you. And yes, Bill, you're absolutely right in regards to that. Emma Peel as a co-star.
Yeah, Diana Rigg.
Which is
Diana
really
Rigg,
cool
yeah.
too. Emma Peel, Mrs. Peel, Diana Rigg was a Bond woman, Bond girl. And then you also had Honor Blackman, who was also a Bond girl, and both of them were in the Avengers, which is
yes.
Yes, I agree with Randy.
So,
Live and Let Die was the best, had the best.
Yeah, it did have really good music. So hindsight being 2020, it's really easy to kind of rip poor guy apart for some of the later choices he made. But this was his first outing. This was his first Bond film, and he made some really great choices. Let me pull up my notes. I just want to talk about some things he did. I already mentioned he was the one who's like, hey, let's do this pre-title sequence, so you jump in to join Bond sort of already in the middle of a mission kind of situation and all that. He is the one who he made our bad guy, who I can't wait to talk about him because that's an interesting character.
Oh yeah,
Goldfinger himself. He made the bad guy a lot worse than maybe it had been written, and made him a really worthy villain. But he also chose to make Bond a little bit less of a Superman and just make him, a little bit more like he had to actually kind of use his gadgets and stuff and make him a little bit more vulnerable. But then, he has to kind of overcome that. And it sort of worked. The other thing he did was there was a plot hole in the book, and it was Guy Hamilton was like, no, what we're going to do is we're going to have him irradiate the gold, making it worthless. Therefore, he was the one who totally fixed this plot hole. It was awesome. And we talked about this on Wednesday. He established Q as being annoyed with Bond, which was so brilliant because that stayed with him for the rest of Desmond Llewellyn's run as Q.
Honestly, the whole thing of attacking or in Fort Knox is the whole plot is kind of laughable.
The plot's a little out there, but he fixed. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure in 1964 you couldn't fly a plane.
Exactly.
Actually, one of their aerial shots is really Fort Knox.
I know, but I'm sure they have aerial shots of it, but I'm sure it wasn't taken by an amateur photographer flying a Cessna.
Yeah,
it might have been.
I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure that's a no-fly zone.
He had a friend who was a general. He's like, "Hey, man, can I fly?" And the general was like, "Yeah, all right."
I mean, that's where you're giving them writer's license to to do what they're doing with it. Because to your point, Mike, the fact even though it was 1964, I don't think they could have gotten that close. It would have been they probably would have been intercepted or something.
Yeah, and the other one I thought, since we're on the plot hole situation at the end, that you assume that he convinced Pussy Galore to change the gas from a deadly gas to just one that knock out. But why have it at all?
It didn't. I think they
why not? Well, apparently they all were knocked out because he said, "Oh, just switch the gas to just the knockout or whatever." He says that though. Felix Leiter says it. So I was like, well, why? Because then you're still unconscious, I guess, for a certain amount of time. I guess
that's true. But the other thing that Guy Hamilton did to make things better was this book had a buzz at the end where, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." Iconic line, by the way.
Yeah, that was the first time we see a laser.
That in the book was just a buzzsaw. And Guy Hamilton was like, let's make it a laser. And that was actually genius.
Yeah, well, the reason he did that was because the buzzsaw of somebody being cut on a log or whatever was such a trope.
Right.
And he thought, we're going to do this again. So he came up with the laser. And that is a great line. He's like, what do you want me to talk? And he's like, no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. It's probably the classic line of the entire movie.
It's the classic line,
And I'm glad that they did say, because Auric is supposed to be English, but they said, but he doesn't sound like it. I think it was M that says that he's supposed to be British, but he doesn't sound like it.
Well, the guy that voiced. Okay, so let's get into poor Auric here.
Wait, before you go on, I just want to jump in real quick before you go on about the because there was a lot of dubbing that was done too.
Yes,
a lot of supposed dubbing that almost took place, and thankfully, again, to Guy Hamilton, he kind of put his foot in and foot down, and he kind of intercepted things going in a certain direction. But one of the things, there was actually a scene that originally was going to be filmed for this, where it was Felix Leiter suggesting about the gas being switched and talking with Pussy Galore. However, they didn't go with that, and it was actually deleted because they felt that it would have given too much attention to Felix, making him look almost like the hero more so than James Bond. So they decided not to go with that. So that would have been interesting to have had that extra footage in there.
And it would have given away some of the plot because until they wake up, we assume they're all dead.
Right. Exactly.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. While I was saying, well, they didn't just fake it because there was cars that had crashed.
Yeah.
So they clearly had passed out.
Yeah.
They showed a truck on its side, 2 cars that had crashed.
Oh yeah, it's true. I didn't think of that. Someone if they're all in on it.
So if they were faking it, why would they crash a car and flip over a truck?
It's a definite inconsistency with that. It's like, yeah. Go ahead, Mary Beth.
Right. No, that's good. Let's kind of run through our cast of characters and the actors that played them, but because what a cast this is, and we got to touch on our bad guy first. That is played by Goethe. How do you say his name?
Forb. Go for it.
Frobe, I think it's pronounced. Is that?
I'll butcher his name. Forb. Yeah.
Ferb. It's got an umlaut. It's got an umlaut over the O, so I'm not really sure.
Maybe somebody no, but I think it's Gert Frobe.
So he is German. He was a pretty well-known German performer, and they were like, he could say, "Hey, how are you?" And very well, how are you? And that was all he could speak in English. And I don't know how they got him cast, but they got him cast without him speaking any English at all. But what I read, and that I don't quite completely, Frobe, Jeff says Frobe. What I don't completely understand is, yes, they did dub him because the English was not that strong. He had been doing it phonetically and it wasn't good enough. But he spoke so slowly, they had to make him go back and do it all faster, I guess. Or did
that
they
way,
just
when they did the dubbing, it would look, you would believe in it more, because that's another thing that Guy Hamilton wanted to do. He said to speed it up, because that way, when they were putting in the dub, you couldn't really read the lips, so to speak.
But you know what? It's probably one of the better dubs out there.
Yeah.
Period. It's a very good dub, I think.
There is.
There's only a couple moments when you realize he's not quite.
And a couple of his lines actually got through too when he was
use his own voice. Yeah.
Which was kind of interesting. I think it was one of them was when he was torturing Bond, or in the process of torturing Bond. There were a couple of things that he said that actually you could actually hear the accent, but he spoke very poor English. But he actually had done a couple of movies. He had worked with Albert Broccoli before, and I think he was in, if I'm not mistaken, because I think Ross and I had covered it, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. He was in that. So
was he really?
Yeah. So
he makes a really good bad guy. Like, he has that. I don't even know what the quality is. Just something about him.
Chris is saying he was a German flyer in those Magnificent Men and their flying machines.
Wow.
Yeah, and Martin's.
How did you do so many English movies and not get English down that well? Oh well. Stuff happens.
Why were they going to somebody? You think they would just find somebody that could speak English that might be a similar?
You would think, yeah.
Well, you know what? It was his presence, and then the other thing is when they actually showed this movie in Germany, he was actually using his voice, so for that.
Oh, so he just did in German, yeah.
Yeah.
The other character that I absolutely love, is Pussy Galore. I love her. Sorry, not sorry. I just do. Because she's awesome. She's like Princess Leia.
Well, she's a very strong character,
she's a strong female character in an era where there were not a lot of strong female characters.
Yes, and the other thing that cracked me up at that last scene when they're crashing in the plane. It's like shooting a window out in a plane doesn't make it crash.
Outer space. Yeah, doesn't make it crash. He's gonna get sucked out into outer space. Outer space.
That was although silly, but more plausible that there would be an air pressure change if they were high enough that they had.
Chekhov's gun, boy. They were really setting us up for that.
Plane. I mean, look at how many aircraft. Look at the one that just happened was in Seattle where the whole door came off.
Yeah.
And they landed the plane.
But stuff blows out.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like the fact that this has a little window that it's not going to crash the plane, guys.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. She's not Trailblazer or any. This movie does have its fair share of minor misogynistic moments, but
that's Bond.
Overall,
that is Bond.
Love her. Love her.
No, she's a great character.
We're okay too. But
you know what's interesting about her character, though? In the book, she was stated as being a lesbian, and that's something that
that's
her character was. Yeah, and they were even saying that there was some discussion where Bond.
They were going to do it, I think.
Yeah, change it. Turns her, against being, not to go. I'm not going down any rabbit holes here, but I'm just saying, just the way it was written and what the producers were.
Yeah, the power of James Bond can make.
Yeah, the power being, making her, going in different directions. With with Goldfinger like treating her poorly, and then that's the way it's.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is stuff that was documented, and this is this wasn't a novelization. The book came out 5 years before the movie, and that was in 1959. So it's, again, there's different.
The other gal that was in this movie who was gorgeous was Tanya Mallet, who plays Tilly.
Yes,
the one he meets over in Switzerland. Not the Golden Girl, her sister. She was gorgeous. Did she do
the model? Yeah, and there she is too.
Very, very angry character.
Oh yeah, she's annoyed a lot, and she just fires indiscriminately. Oh, I was trying to.
No, she's like, I wasn't shooting at you. She wasn't even close to Goldfinger. When she shot, when she shot at him.
And then what the heck is Odd Job smiling about? Like he looks up and realized someone was shooting at us and just.
Well, he heard the gunshot. Well, I don't know why he was smiling. Like he knew what was going on or something.
Yes.
Let's do Odd Job real quick here.
Yeah. Well, the whole time they're having the fight inside Fort Knox, he's got this stupid grin on his face.
Yeah, he kind of does.
Harold Sakata, wrestler.
Yeah, he weightlifting. I think he got.
You know what I loved? I loved in Austin Powers. They made fun of him at the end with the throwing instead of the hat, he throws a shoe. Who throws a shoe? Honestly,
who throws a shoe? Austin Powers sends this stuff up.
Oh yeah, that movie is great. Yeah, brilliantly. I just thought it was really funny. But the other thing I want to point out, now he's Korean. He mentions that he's Korean because he said something about maybe when golf becomes the national pastime of Korea. All of course, his henchmen, did you notice, are Asian.
Yes,
and that is like a Bond
theme. Red China. He was being funded, not funded, but he was being put up by Red China.
Wherever he was being funded, but every Bond film, it's like the bad guys. Henchmen are Asian. Have you noticed that? Like, pick one.
Or Nazis, or
it was definitely prevalent in this film for sure.
Yeah, it's just it just seems like there was. Well, I think it's a sign of the times,
right?
I think it was an easy, again, to vilify that because we still were coming. Remember this is only 20 years after the Second World War,
which is really
scary. So there was still a lot of bad taste in Americans' mouth for Asia. So. I think that's where that comes from, and of course it's ridiculous. But I just noticed because it was the same thing with Dr. No.
Yeah.
And we saw it again, and I think it was even in. I think even we're seeing it in, the Roger Moore one.
Yeah.
You can't think of that. Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
So.
It is kind of interesting. You would think they would have made the character communist Chinese. They made the character Korean. Not really sure why. Harold himself is a Japanese American. He's American, but Japanese. So or Hawaiian, really, I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know what the weird thing is with the Asians. Maybe it was just.
I think it's a
product of the times.
It's a product of the times, and of course we know.
Of the times,
yeah. But they even in the United States. Okay. When they're in the Alps, it's one thing. But then they go to the United States, and there's the same guys.
There's a whole bunch of Asians fighting in Fort Knox
in their little outfits,
and, wearing the little pajama, that's communist China pajama bottoms. Yeah,
it's so obvious that it wasn't just that these guys were even in normal uniforms; they were in very Asian-looking uniforms.
That is audience. That's psychologically manipulating the audience without saying it. Without saying it.
Sign of the times.
Yeah,
it's
a form of unfortunately it's almost like a form of like typecasting in a sense, or profiling really is what it's
absolutely
doing.
It is, yes.
Well, that's kind of something like on our show. I said on our show, George Takei will talk about that stuff, that all the casting that an Asian American male would get would always be like a Japanese soldier or some kind of servant or something like that. To never get that him be Sulu was a big deal, to be an officer.
Because it was a respectful position,
right?
Yasuko Nagazumi, who was in Space 1999 in year 2, she wound up she was married to Ray Austin, who was one of the directors. She was commenting that when she came over here, she was the only roles that she could get, and again, this is like 1978, is if you were a prostitute, if you were a like a maid or some kind of servant. So what happened was she didn't want to just do that, and she got out of it, and then she wanted to becoming like a location scout, and she did that for like 38 years, and a producer.
And the other one who commented on that is in Man with the Golden Gun, Soon Tek Oh, who plays not High Fat, the other guy, the his ally who left him in the car that we made fun of.
Yes.
He said they were asking him about being cast for that role, and he was like, "I don't want to play a soldier. I don't want to play like all the usual stereotypes." He's like, "I do," and they're like, "No, you're an agent. You're going to work with Bond." He was like, "Okay, I'll do it."
It wasn't. You remember when we interviewed Lycia Naff on our show, who played Ensign Gomez on TNG, and then she came back and she was saying that she's I think her descent she's Lebanese, I think.
Yeah.
And she's like, the only thing I could get was like a hooker.
Exactly.
Ended up being the Snow Queen or something in some show that was one of her claims to fame. That she was a female drug kingpin or some kind of thing. But she could never get, and she doesn't even look that ethnic.
No, she really doesn't.
But
to remind everyone, she's the hot chocolate girl, right?
Right. She's the one that she eventually came back in Lower Decks as
she was on Lower Decks,
and then of course she's in Total Recall. She's
Total Recall.
Yeah, she's in Total. That's right. She's in Total.
She's the three-boobed one. Really nice lady. Has a very great charity, by the way. She helps homeless people in LA.
Yeah.
So
yeah. In fact, Sherry was mentioning, and I put this comment up before, but when we were watching it, she was saying, Asians in Switzerland, and
then Asians in Kentucky.
Yeah. Interesting too. That whole corporation, those buildings, that was actually at Pinewood Studios where they were filming that, where they were doing the car chase in and out through the buildings and everything, which I thought was kind of cool. And that was old Pinewood.
I never understood that when he crashed into the wall because he thought another car was coming at him. Why wouldn't you just stop? Like he kept going, like he kept seeing the car.
Well,
he thought was the car, which was him.
We needed action.
It's like,
promise the audience.
One thing he does do is he looks to the right.
Why are you like stopping?
We didn't promise the audience like logic.
There was nowhere he could go though, and and then it turns out to be like this big mirror.
It's just a mirror. Well, you'll see that too, and I don't think the mirror being there isn't that weird because you'll see that we have in the hospital we have them at corners,
right? Yeah, so
that you can see if somebody's coming around the corner, so you don't crash into them. So it's not that uncommon that the mirror would be there, but it was just funny because I'm like, well, just stop, dude.
Yeah, exactly. That would have been too easy.
Any other? So sorry. Getting back to it. Any other characters we should be talking about here?
Well, Felix Leiter was portrayed by Jack Lord in Dr. No, which was huge. And they actually wanted Jack Lord to come back to potentially do this film. I think he was maybe even signed up for a 2-picture deal, but he was doing Stony Burke, which was almost kind of like a cowboy western show. This is now before his McGarrett days on Hawaii Five-0. McGarrett, Hawaii Five-0 was in '68, so that would be like 4 years later. But unfortunately, he had to turn it down, which I think would have been really good because the chemistry between Jack Lord and Bond, I thought was worked very well. This other actor, his name was Sek Linder. He was a Polish Canadian film actor, and I don't know. It to me,
how many? I'm sorry, you finished. I was going to say how many different Felix Leiters have we had across the Bond?
Well, this would have been the second Felix Leiter,
right?
He wasn't in from Russia with Love. There was only, if you don't count the Daniel Craigs, the only time a Felix Leiter was reprised would have been in Live and Let Die. The first time was David Hedison when he played Felix Leiter, and that was in '73. And he was actually a good friend of Roger Moore's. And then what happened was Hedison came back for License to Kill in the '89 one with Timothy Dalton. And as you remember, he fell into the shark pit and his leg and everything. But that was the only time he actually had one actor playing Felix Leiter twice. But to your point, Mike, it always would, be changing it up. It's always like a different Felix. And, you'd see, hey, Felix. And it's like, okay. But,
who? Yeah. Sherry said, don't forget about Moneypenny. Yeah, we had Lois Maxwell back as Moneypenny, and we had Desmond Llewellyn back as Q.
Yeah, so let me put the pictures up just so to remind everybody. Let's see. Yeah,
I actually like the Daniel Craig Felix Leiter quite a bit. I thought it was a different character. The one that in GoldenEye. It was that was a different CIA agent, wasn't it?
They actually used in the Daniel Craig's. It was a
no. I'm talking about I thought there was a CIA agent in GoldenEye. Which was that was a Pierce Brosnan. That was the first Pierce Brosnan one.
I'm sure there was.
Yeah, I can't think of what his name was. I can picture the actor too. Somebody probably knows. But anyway, I don't know if it was supposed to be Felix Leiter or something. I think it was somebody else.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
I'm told Q stands for quartermaster. No idea what M stands for.
That's a good question. I don't know. But talking about M, here's M. This was Bernard Lee. There he is. Yeah,
I always loved their relationship because it was like M always respected like Bond's abilities, but again, like Q found him very irritating and hard, to try to keep him in line, being a little unprofessional at times.
Oh well, so was Moneypenny. Moneypenny was always
interesting enough, Mike. I don't know if you recall this, but she actually, Lois Maxwell actually did a stint in a UFO episode.
Yep.
She took over. She was in Miss Elin was on vacation.
Did she wear the wig?
She filled in as a secretary. Yeah.
Yep. Which is kind of cool.
Just popping back to M super quick. There's a scene where they're having a meal or something. They're sitting around a table. I don't remember, and they're drinking brandy and commenting. But like, it's that tiny detail that is kind of pulled from the books. Like James Bond would be a connoisseur of wine.
Yeah.
Of course. In this case, liquor. Of course he would. Of course he would know all the notes in that brandy. He would know all the notes in bourbon. He would know all the notes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, that's just like a little character detail that kind of faded away after a while. They never really went back to it. But of course he would. He's supposed to be, and this kind of sort of proves Roger Moore's point. He's like, he should have been charming and seducing his way. He's a spy. He should have been blending in and charming and seducing, not just smacking people around to get, not always just going to violence to get what he wants. It kind of reinforces Roger's point, to be honest.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, that type of Bond is just, it works so much more better. I mean, it just shows you how he's that much more intelligent, and you know what I mean. It's and suave,
and suave, debonair. But I mean, he can use the gun when he needs to. He can throw the punch when he needs to.
Definitely.
But let's make that the last resort. That's kind of where we wanted.
Connery was a better fighter.
I think that's kind of where Connery played him as.
Moore always seemed to be like sometimes getting the best, the bad guy get the best of him every once in a while, kind of thing. Whereas I not to say that Sean Connery always wins every fight, but he seems to hold his own better. I don't know. It just seems like the two actors, the way they portrayed the character a little different. I agree.
Well, but it's not like Goldfinger and Bond teamed to fisticuffs. They never.
It's
like at the very end they did.
What would be interesting is, and just to kind of do it like in our minds, is imagining Roger Moore playing Bond in the Sean Connery movies, and then having Sean Connery play Bond in the Moore movies.
Well, that's a fun little mental exercise. I think Roger Moore could do it. Roger could pull it off, I think. Sean would get annoyed with some of the silliness. I don't see Sean doing
it would definitely be interesting. It would be an interesting assignment, but yeah. And again,
I agree with Mary Beth. I don't see Connery doing so much of the comedic bits that Roger had to do.
I think it's almost like the good Kirk and the bad Kirk. It's easier for the good Kirk to be bad than the bad to be good.
Here's a great example.
Like
every time,
it's the same thing. And Kirk said it in the episode or Spock said it to Kirk.
Here's the thing. Every time Roger fought Jaws, you know what I'm saying? Could you see Sean doing that? Hitting him and hitting them. I just.
I'm sorry. I love those movies, and I'm so with you with that, because could you see like Sean Connery punching him in the teeth, and then he's going like this?
Yeah, exactly.
not see Sean Connery doing that.
Yeah. Sean would be like, surely who gave me a gadget for this? Yeah,
that's exactly my point. It's like I couldn't see Sean doing that.
No, but that's why you have certain stories, certain actors for certain situations, and and you just reminded me of something too. On His Majesty's Secret Service was actually supposed to follow this movie. That was supposed to be the next Bond movie. So it would have been interesting. Now, you were saying earlier, Mike, too, with in regards to excuse me, George Lazenby being similar types with Sean Connery. So probably I would say Connery could have definitely pulled it off with that.
Oh yeah,
and it would be more in alignment. But it's opposed to it being like, you know, Sean Connery doing The Spy Who Loved Me or Moonraker. It's totally different. But it would have been interesting to have had that film be next. But then, of course, with everything that was going on, it you know, it's not the direction things went. And
no, they went with Thunderball, which was a huge blockbuster.
Oh, absolutely, more so than this movie. This movie did 130 million, and then Thunderball did 140.
And you know, I'd love to, and I can tell you why. You know, I think because they ramped up the action in Thunderball. This movie, it doesn't have I mean, it's got action in it, but compared to Thunderball, the explosions, the planes, you know, the scuba, the underwater fighting. I mean, they took that, and that was the first movie we see the big battles of the two, of like the British. You know, we kind of saw it a little bit in this one with the American Army fighting these guys but you know, the big battle for at the end. There's always the big battle. There's always the bad guys, henchmen against whatever the British Army or whatever they threw in there. You know, we saw it in Moonraker. We saw it in Spy Who Loved Me. You know, we saw, you know, they all come together. They have the big, but we saw it in Thunderball for the first time. You know, the underwater. We did it underwater. You know, so it was like, that's why it was bigger. That's why it was, you know.
Good analogy, Chris.
Yeah, he's not wrong. You're not wrong, Chris.
Yeah.
No, and I agree with you, Mike, because it just had more action, and it was just on a bigger scale. I mean, this movie had it, but it went to the next level with that film. So, yeah, and then what had happened was too, everybody was so enthralled with Goldfinger. I mean, when Goldfinger came out, I mean, within 2 weeks it had made its money back. Because and then what they had to do was they were showing it like 24/7 in some places. And think about it, a film being shown 24/7 in 1964. How impressive is that?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
Thunderball was like a Michael Bay movie of the day.
Yeah,
sure.
You know what I'm saying? It was just like boom, explosions, you know, and stuff like that. So, but yeah, you're right. That's crazy. I didn't realize that they had run that 24 hours a day. I guess people were really bored in the early 60s.
Yeah, I don't know what passed
TV quite wasn't there yet.
Well, you know what? They didn't have at their disposal. They didn't have a television where you could watch 500 channels. You could go to your iPhone. You know, you could watch whatever you want. You can, you know, I mean, we grew up with this stuff, but it's just that, in fact,
we didn't though, Roy.
No,
I grew up with 5 channels.
No, I'm saying we grew up with this stuff, meaning we grew up with these movies that we're talking about.
Oh yeah, tonight. But I'm just saying. I mean, I remember even
absolutely.
Even in the 90s, I remember going to the movies was a thing.
Absolutely,
you know, I mean, still a thing. Oh, I got to go see it in the theater. Now it's like, yeah, I think I went and saw Deadpool Wolverine because I had to see that one in the theater.
Because now we realize the impact of the big screen.
But honestly, everything else, I'm like, yeah, I'll just wait till it comes out on video and just watch it at home.
Me too.
Surround sound.
It's
on a 65-inch TV. You know, it's just
in the comfort of my own home with a snack and a bathroom.
Yeah, in a bathroom, I can go pause. I got to go to the bathroom.
But to your point, though, I mean, with television back in the 70s, it was channel 2, well, in the New York area, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11. And then you had 13, which was the VHS or the UHF rather.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And that was the boring station. Nobody ever wanted to watch it on that
until they started running Doctor Who.
Until they started doing Doctor Who.
Yeah, exactly. PBS would run Doctor Who.
Channel 9.
They'd run like Benny Hill and stuff like that.
Benny Hill, yeah. But
we were actually lucky. I lived in Southern Connecticut, so I picked up all those New York stations. But people that lived up here, like like you get 2 channels, 3 channels.
No, yeah, there was nothing in New Hampshire.
They didn't have cable.
I barely had stuff coming out of Boston.
Yeah. I remember we didn't get cable till the 80s.
Yeah. And Bill's saying, are movie theaters still a dating thing? Exactly. I mean, it was fun to go to the movies. It was like, okay, you know, you'd go with your friends. It was like on a Friday night, looking forward to go, or a Saturday.
I don't know if it's still a thing, Bill. Though I don't know. I don't know
either, Bill, but I bet they are, because it's somewhere kids can go and sit in the dark for a couple hours because kids are.
Yeah. 13 was PBS, right, Chris? Yeah,
exactly.
13 still is.
But now it's so different. But if you think about it, and I was talking with somebody at work about this, when you look back from like going from like 1900 to 1930, as far as things that changed, there wasn't a lot of change. Or if you're going from 1930 to 1960, it's the change there wasn't as
There was more.
yeah.
1900 1930, they got radio and not talkies, silent movies.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe talkies. Maybe there was talkies by.
I don't know when. Yeah, no. By the
Our
30s
movies
you had
were
sound.
20s,
By
right?
the 30s you had sound.
Yeah. Well, you had whatchamacallit, Gone with the Wind was 39.
Gone with the Wind was
yeah. Oh yeah, Wizard of Oz was 30.
Well, Wizard of Oz was
39.
34, wasn't it? 35.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're absolutely right. Now go from that.
No, I'm thinking of even animated. Snow White was 1938 or something like that. So they had sound then. Yeah.
But now what's happening is you're going from like 1960 to 70 or 70 to 80. Things are just changing so quickly, especially with the technology.
And now I can watch almost anything I want.
Exactly.
Crazy. Or my dad would have told you, when they was growing up, radio. They used to huddle around the radio, listen to Little Orphan Annie and Chris LaRoche will tell you The Shadow and all those radio programs. That was what they did. They didn't, and then to go to the movies was a big deal. To go see
Chris, put your arm around your girl.
So.
Well, back in the day,
times they are changing, as the song goes.
The times they are changing, but back in the day, they'd run newsreels at the beginning, and like it was like a lot. It was like actual news, real news at the beginning of the movie. Yeah.
Yep. Now they run. You're lucky if you get.
Now you get ads. Oh my god, the ads.
It was interesting though. I
like the previews, but actual advertisement.
But when I went to see Deadpool Wolverine, there was no ads and there was no previews. It went bam into the movie.
Really, I think I had. Like
at least in my theater,
trivia while we were waiting.
Yeah, the theater I went to, I was like, "Wait, there's not going to be any at least previews."
I don't remember. We need to ask the people.
It really gets old when you're sitting there for like a half an hour and you get,
and it's still going and go. I mean, I usually do enjoy the previews. I get hyped for certain things.
I used to always like to go early enough so you didn't miss previews.
Speaking of getting hyped, are we all hyped for the new Superman? Have we all seen the trailer? What do you think, guys? Do we like crypto? We like crypto, don't we?
I think it's nice to have a change. I'm looking forward to it. And Lois reminds me a lot of whatchamacallit. Help me, 1978.
Oh yeah, what's her name?
With the dark hair. Yeah. Oh my god, I'm having a brain cramp. Who played Lois Lane in 1978? Anyone?
Margot Kidder.
Margot Kidder. Yes, brain cramp.
I saw the trailer. I was I was like, okay.
I was surprised
it's busy. There's a lot.
Well, I mean, it's another Superman movie. I'm like, it's just like another Batman movie. It's like,
but I'm surprised that there's other superheroes because I thought this was, and I'll be honest with you, I had no idea they were doing another Superman movie. I kind of missed.
James I agree. This one came out of left field for me.
You need to watch Sci-Fi Distilled. I bring you all the news, and I've been talking about this for a while.
We talked about it. We did.
Yes, I've talked about this.
Shows you how much I pay attention while she's doing the news.
Sherry's saying right now, she's saying, the preview showed too much of the movie. I closed my eyes and ears. Lots of laughs. No. But she's talking about like just in general when you go to the movies now.
I don't know.
Like, they give the movie away because it's like they show you like half the film in the previews. But going back to Superman though, no, I didn't know about it. So that's kind of cool though. But
I will remain cautiously optimistic. It's not. It doesn't sound like it's an origin story. So and that's really all. Like I am over the origin stories.
It's like every time they feel like they got to reboot it. Whether it's Batman or it's Superman, pick a superhero. They always seem like they have to reboot it. Spider-Man. How many Spider-Man, origin movies have we had? It's just kind of okay.
And Batman too.
Batman, like I said, it's the same thing. It's like
they're running out of fresh ideas. That's the problem. Everything recycles and
And originally, the original two I shouldn't say the original two Batman movies, but the big ones was the Michael Keaton ones. The first one he was already Batman. They kind of did touch on his parents, and he went and visited the spot and all that stuff, but they didn't really do a lot with his like they did with Christian Bale. Where you see this whole thing where he goes and he trains and how he learns all his moves and everything like that. So, Anyway. We're off topic.
You just that's okay. You just reminded me too. That film is celebrating so many anniversaries right now, but that film is 35 and a half years now because that came out in June of '89. I remember seeing that in
the Michael Keaton.
The Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
one.
the Michael Keaton one. Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah,
Hey, Dennis, thanks for joining us.
And I always felt like Jack Nicholson stole the show on that one.
He did. He definitely did.
He
really
still
used one of his lines almost regularly.
Speaking of news, back to James Bond news. It looks like they're kind of perpetually always looking for a new James Bond, but I think they're gonna start ramping up the search for the next James Bond.
All right, I probably shouldn't ask this because this is going to be, but I'm going to go there anyway. But no, and this is just as a generalization because I'm totally cool with female characters, but in my mind, if they do a James Bond in my mind should be a male character.
They tried it with the Doctor and didn't. I was fine.
No, they did it with Doctor. They did it with Doctor Who.
And I think what they were trying to do they were looking at changing it to a female character, but it wasn't it was just going to be 007,
right?
But not James Bond. It wasn't going to be Janie Bond or something like that.
Right. And
it was a different person entirely just with his number because he retired.
I could buy into that. It's just that don't try to make James Bond.
I don't know what you need to. I don't think the character fits. No offense. It's if you're going to keep to what Ian Fleming wrote.
Right.
It doesn't work as a woman.
The character has been created. We do not need to recreate the character.
And it amazes me how, and again, it's kind of going down a rabbit hole, but it's like, I'm not a fan of that. And it's just, I mean, do you remember the show, The Man from Uncle? They did the girl from Uncle. That's fine. If you want to do something, create a new character, but why do you have to change a character that's already established? You know what I mean? That's just,
because they want to be progressive, but at the same time, they know if they just go with something new that there's a good chance it's not going to bank. So they're using a known quantity, a new franchise to try to be progressive and get some money out of it. And it falls flat. Look what happened with Ghostbusters. I mean, that was a miserable disaster.
Yes.
Didn't even see it.
I've only seen clips of it, and from what I've seen was awful.
Oh, I've seen it.
Yes, I guess I can't really commit too hard because I never saw the whole thing, but I think universally everybody that did see it was like, hey, this was a bad idea. And I think they need to remember that because, and it was nothing against the actresses that were in it. They were all good, decent, like funny people and everything, but it's like, why did you take that? Right. First of all, the movie didn't need to be remade.
Right.
It's like remaking Gone with the Wind or something. It's like, don't touch these movies that are classics.
Especially a movie that's a classic like this. I mean, you're dealing with a character that's 60 years old. I mean, I realize that they're doing it for all those reasons that you said, Mike, but it's just that I'm just not a fan of that per se with that.
I agree. I agree with you. I don't think they should do it. I'm just saying this is why they do it.
Yeah. And it's the bottom line. It comes down to the money. It comes down to trying to, bring in a different audience. And that's what they're trying to do. But it's like, then be creative. Come up with a character that is going to knock it out of the park and don't destroy something that's already been established.
Yeah.
It's just
that's what Chris is saying. Have a new person with a 00.
Yeah.
Not the 007, but a 00.
Yeah.
Which is what I was complaining about Britt Eklund for Man with the Golden Gun. I was like, I thought she was 00. I didn't realize she wasn't, but she worked for the agency. She should have had more brains than what she had.
Yeah. That was just bad writing. And
we don't really even know, what level of agent she was. She should have been.
But I don't
think she should have been. Regardless, she should have been smarter, but she was not a 00.
No. We established that on Wednesday. Yes.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think again she was they were playing her off as kind of the dumb blonde. I hate to say it, but
they were.
Who would hire a dumb blonde? Who would send a dumb blonde on a mission like that? Oh, anyway,
it was painful. Trying to think of anybody else.
We don't. Again, you're trying to apply logic to James Bond, and there's like none of it.
Well,
really
it's.
I don't expect you to be logical, Mr. Bond. I expect you to just let the movie happen.
I expect you to laugh.
I expect you to be adventuresome and have action.
Well, that's the other thing too, in regards to the two characters, or talking about Gert and also Oddjob, the actor that played Oddjob. Oh my God, brain cramp again.
Harold
Sakata.
Yeah, Sakata. Supposedly very, very nice guys and very nice on the sets, and were very good with the company and not the characters they were portraying. So that,
Yeah, tons of promotional pictures of Harold, particularly with him with kids, like hanging out with kids and
they
laughing
did
with
something with him with the Oscars, and the Academy Awards years later, and I was gonna try to find it. It's actually on YouTube if you do a YouTube search on it.
Does he throw the hat and chop the Oscar statue head off?
No. But they did have him being part of the recognition in regards to this, his status in the movie. But
he is one of the more highly acclaimed baddies.
Yeah,
well, not highly acclaimed. You know him. You recognize him.
Yeah, he's right up there with Jaws. We all remember Jaws. We all remember Odd Job.
Knick-Knack. I mean, all of these little, and they're the henchmen. Yeah. Like the henchmen kind of have their own little fandom unto themselves,
Yeah. There's the two guys we're talking about that were in Diamonds Are Forever, the weird Mr. So-and-so and Mr. So-and-so.
Crispin Glover.
Not as memorable.
No.
No.
Trying to think of who else. Yeah, they didn't really have one. You Only Live Twice. There wasn't one. Then we had in Russia with Love. We had Robert Shaw.
Yeah,
Robert Shaw was excellent.
Robert Shaw of
he was very memorable. The train sequence was. I mean, that movie is one of my. It's probably like my favorite James Bond film with Sean Connery. I mean, this one is probably second.
Thunderball didn't really have a henchman like that either. Now that I think about it, it was just the one main bad guy. I
think people like the henchman.
Yeah.
People like the kind of dangerous throwing hats, serving up Tabasco.
So what was the hat? Was the hat had a blade on the rim?
Yeah, I think it had steel reinforced rim.
Obviously it wasn't felt. I mean, clearly. So
yeah.
But it's not just that, it's the power of his throw.
No, who throws a shoe?
Who throws a shoe?
Bond threw it hard enough to stick into the steel pipe that
that's true. He did. Oh, and I believe poor Harold actually got electrocuted on that scene.
Yes. Oh, for real?
Somehow, which I watched this scene and I was like, hurt. He's touching the hat. How did he get electrocuted? But I guess if it had a metal reinforcement.
And he stuck with it because he was going.
Well, that's what, but I don't know how he would have.
He got burned.
He got burned or something. Energized
he got hurt. He got hurt in some manner.
Well, the other thing that happened was maybe that was
he accidentally hurt Sean in the scene where he's gonna turn her gold, and Sean's over in the fridge getting out more champagne or something, and Odd Job whacks him in the back. Ooh, accidentally jogged his memory a little too hard.
Hit him a little too hard, got a little too close.
Yeah, and then supposedly I think with that whole thing, then because he was actually Sean Connery was getting a pay increase, they were saying, with doing this film. So then what happened was,
so he used
it for leverage. And he actually, after this film, or as a part of this film, because of what you just referenced, he was collecting 5% of the net profit or the gross profits of the movie, which is
good for him. That's good money right there. This thing did really well.
Yeah,
that's amazing. This movie also introduced him to golf, which became a favorite of his.
And that's a great scene too. How he ends up.
I love that scene.
The whole thing. You play a Salinger 1, right? Well, this is Salinger 7.
Playing the strict rules.
I love Bond's caddy, the typical.
Yeah, the caddy though, because it's not enough. It's not enough that you show him switching out the balls. The caddy then has to go. Did you switch them?
Yeah, right.
And we got him.
Did we really?
Yeah, really. Don't give it away or anything. I did think of that too when it happened. And we're talking about the car, the Rolls Royce that I was thinking about it, and if all the bodywork on that car was gold, do you know what that car must have weighed?
Yeah,
I think the tires would have gone flat. And then the other thing that cracked me up, he was flying commercial from England to Switzerland, but yet he had all his other own airlines. Remember at the end when he brought Bond?
He loads the car
from Switzerland to the United States. He was on a private jet.
Yeah.
So why does he have to fly commercially? He was flying to go. I guess he doesn't have cargo plane for his 4 billion pound car.
Yeah, he loads the car in the nose of the plane.
Yeah, it's like a guppy, I think that plane's called.
Yeah.
Like a cargo plane, but it was British Airways. Because there was a whole bunch of other people getting on the plane too, and there was a stewardess and everything. So it was clearly a commercial flight.
Yeah.
It was a commercial flight. So
You know, back in the day when you could just bring your car along and go to any other country, just get off and start driving.
So that I think that was where they ended up in the Alps. I think that's called Stelvio, which is a pass. It's one of those things on my bucket list to go.
Oh yeah, it's well known. It's
motorcycle
really highly
that.
photographed. Yeah.
It was absolutely gorgeous, though.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, that's kind of a hallmark of Bond films too. Is they always go to these
great locations,
locations that you see these. Yeah. So I mean, that was just one of them. But it was always a bucket list. I want to ride a motorcycle up and down that Stelvio Pass.
Carrie and I were in Switzerland in 2010, and I could have sworn they had the whatchamacallit cars, just like a Moonraker. I forget what you call them, with the as they're going across the mountain. And I could have sworn
cable cars.
Thank you. Yeah. I could have sworn that's where they had actually filmed it, because it just looked so much like that location. It wasn't, but it really.
Yeah, that was Brazil. That was the gondola thing going up and down. Brazil, yeah. That's such a funny scene.
But absolutely amazing. That's gorgeous up there. I think I referenced it. And Mike, you had actually played on Wednesday. You were playing the ABC movie, the Sunday
night movie open.
Yeah. This movie actually did. It was Sunday, September 17th of 1972 when it was actually shown for the first time, and it was a commercial success. Highest Nielsen rating.
I only would have been 5.
Oh, was it really?
No, I didn't see it.
49%
weren't going to let me watch a Bond.
No,
sorry, Roy, when did you say they showed it? What
it was in September 17th, 1972, and in 49% of the nation
watched it.
Viewers tuned in that night to watch it. Interesting. I'm a date when it comes to dates. Interesting thing about that date, and this is what's so crazy, because back then things seemed like so spread out. But September 17th, 1978. Any idea what television series premiered on that night on an ABC on ABC?
1978. That's the era of like Bo and Luke Duke, Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. That was the big thing to watch that night. So it's
oh my god,
kind of blows my mind.
My head was going to explode.
Well, it was a 3-hour movie but
it was basically like Star Wars.
Absolutely.
It was a space show on TV.
But the fact that it was 6 years later from 72, it felt like, you know what I mean? That that was only 6 years ago, but I mean, we were like 12.
Wait, that was 1978 it debuted?
So
Star Wars had just come out.
And that's what was in all the magazines about
that out quick.
Yeah, because
that escalated.
Again, they were all jumping on the Star Wars bandwagon.
Yeah,
and
that's why we only got one season, because ABC realized how much that show cost to make.
It was $1 million an episode, which was a lot of money at that time.
Ridiculously expensive. That's why a lot of those shots are recycled. Tons of them are.
The bridge was the whole set. All those.
The first season really was good. If you rewatch it, there's a certain 70s campiness to it, obviously. But the story writing really wasn't bad in it at all,
And obviously, Mike, you were not a fan of the second season of Battlestar Galactica.
No, we don't speak of it.
We will not speak of Galactica 80.
We don't speak of Galactica 19. That show that shall not be named. Even the people that worked on it wish it would just go away.
Oh my god!
Honestly, God, you go back and listen to some interviews of the people that were like, it was like we
didn't work on that show
because basically the studio said, yeah, you're going to get another season.
But the Christmas special,
exactly. It's like the Star Wars Christmas special.
The Star Wars Christmas special was better than Galactica 1980, and
I don't know. That's got to be. Those are neck and neck.
That's a stretch, Roy.
I don't know.
You know how I feel about the Christmas. The Thanksgiving special, you know how I feel about that. That tells you what I feel about Galactica 1980. I mean, the only thing that was actually you could watch a little bit of that was the last one that they did, The Return of Starbuck, and that was just because
that was the only good episode out of that entire season.
And even that, they recycled stuff from a Galactica episode, which was just sorry, we digress here, folks.
We digress.
We digress. Galactica was big except for the preempting. Yeah, exactly. That's right. The peace treaty. That's right. I remember that, Jeff. You're absolutely right. No, I'm sorry. Dennis. The bikes were cool, but you know what? It ends there.
That was the flying.
Yeah, Christopher. Also, you don't like flying motorcycles?
Yeah.
No,
Who doesn't like flying motorcycle?
We as a kid perhaps, but we've outgrown the flying motorcycles a bit. And
Troy and Dylan. Why wasn't he called Boxy anymore?
The whole thing was just it was just
Kent McCord and Jerry Van Dyke, I think, or not Jerry. Barry Van Dyke.
It was Dick Van Dyke's son. And Kent McCord, right? I forgot it was Kent McCord.
Oh my God! Go back to Adam 12 and go watch
Adam 12.
The other guy on Diagnosis.
He was really good on Farscape, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kent McCord. That's a really familiar name.
Oh, he was on Farscape. He was his father. He played Crichton's father.
Yes, that's right. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's really good.
Adam,
he's very good.
First, that was where we saw him first.
Yeah,
that's where I know him from. Yeah.
No offense against Kent McCord, but sorry.
No, nothing against any of the actors in it. But it was like you said, if you go back, go dig through, you'll see interviews and you'll see people that worked on the show, like the producers are like, oh yeah, it was just because basically the network said we can't spend this much money.
But we still want something
version. So they had the only way they could do it is by shooting it in modern day Earth.
Make it land bound. Yeah. We're gonna make a space show, but it's gonna all take place on Earth.
And I think even Robert Reed was actually a scientist.
Robert Reed, you mean Mike Brady himself?
Yes, he was. Yeah, Mike Brady. God. Anything?
I mean, I literally haven't seen it since it aired.
I haven't either.
And I have no
time. It was like 40 years ago or something. It's like, no.
Yeah, it's still
40 years ago.
You watch another episode, then we'll all meet and discuss.
Yeah.
It was just horrible.
How about this guy? We didn't talk about this guy, Mike Benson. He was the one guy that pretty much wanted to take his $1 million and run.
Well, see, it wouldn't have mattered because he clearly killed everybody.
Yeah, he was
going to die. Had he left, he was going to die. It was an interesting. Well, he gets killed.
They all died. Why did they let him go if he was just going to die, and then the other guys were all going to die?
Why did he bring them together to tell them the plan if they was going to kill them all anyway?
Right.
Yeah, why did he bring them together?
Just because he didn't want to pay them all $1 million, I guess.
Yeah. He wanted to show off his cool lair because all the baddies had.
I mean, you think about it. He put a lot of work into the map.
The lair was amazing. It had moving parts.
The whole map that came up.
Map of the wall.
Like you put a lot of work into a production that you're just going to show some people.
Well, when you're Goldfinger and you have millions and millions and millions of pounds.
I guess.
And speaking of that whole that map area and everything that they had, that whole model set up, that actually turned out to be an exhibit, I guess, that they actually had at Fort Knox.
Really?
Yeah. They were very pleased with that and everything. So it's actually like a museum piece. That's
I think is that well, I don't know if that's one of the places that is open to the public to some degree. I don't know if that was, maybe not. I don't know. There were some that you could go visit like as a national monument.
But they were very impressed with Ken Adams' design because Ken Adams' work, it was always incredible. And a letter was sent to him and his team commending him on that because they weren't allowed to go in there, to your point, and scale everything. But
I don't think they shot it in the vault. No.
They absolutely.
I don't even know if that's what the vault looks like.
No, it's pure creation. Although the actual people from the vault were impressed. They were like, "Hey, this is very creative. Not what it looks like, but very creative."
I'm sure it looks more like the warehouse in Indiana at the end of Indiana.
Yeah,
not even that. It just looks like any bank vault.
It's probably just a big room with stacks. We haven't been on the gold standard since the early 70s, anyway.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
Well, you got Nixon that took us off.
John Barry's music, and one thing I thought was interesting is that Michael. Oh my God, I'm really slipping with names tonight. Oh my God, British actor Michael
Collins.
No, oh my God, it's
Caine.
Thank you, Michael Caine and Terrence Stamp evidently were roommates.
They were roommates, yeah.
And what happened was, I guess they got booted, and Michael Caine wound up staying with his friend John Barry. And while he was doing that, he actually got to hear him composing Goldfinger, and then actually got to hear the finished product before anybody.
He actually saw the whole movie, the movie before anybody else did. Yeah,
so I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And then again, here's a picture, and this was not Shirley Eaton though, which I thought I always thought it was. So that was kind of.
If you look, it doesn't. You could tell it doesn't really look like her.
Yeah, it doesn't look quite like her, but it doesn't look like Dink either. Well, I guess it does. Yeah. You only see Dink for like 3 seconds, and then he smacks her butt and dismisses her.
Yeah, yeah. It was like Yeoman Rand all over again in Charlie X. With that.
It was Yeoman Rand all over again.
But again, that's where this movie is a product of its times. Unfortunately,
Well, you want to see more of that? Go watch Mad Men next.
Well, I mean, I was waiting because there was I thought of you, Mary Beth, but
what's it called?
Like we got man talk or something.
Oh yeah, Man Talk.
Man Talk, and I'm like, oh, Mary Beth must have loved that.
no, she's not.
But anyway, just to kind of start winding down, definitely one of my favorites as far as Bond films. And how about you, Mary Beth?
It's up there, actually. No, I need to watch. I need to watch more in order to make a fair evaluation.
You need to watch more, or just more Bond?
No more Bond in general.
Okay.
I should probably go watch Lazenby. I should probably see a few more Connery. Maybe. Well, I've seen a couple of more now. I'm not watching any more Timothy Dalton. No. But I need to see. I've not seen any Daniel Craig, so I've not seen a single.
Oh, really? Yeah, those are good. Definitely start those. Yeah, you gotta watch. You gotta watch them in order. Watch Casino Royale's good.
Yeah, I'll start with Casino Royale.
I would like to do with the both of you, and if we can get Ross back when he comes back, we could do on His Majesty's Secret Service. I think that would be cool.
Watch that one. That one's really I want to say that's one of my favorites. It really is.
That's the Lazenby one.
Yeah, that's Lazenby. That's one of my favorites, and I think I've mentioned You Only Live Twice is one of my favorites. Maybe because of the space aspect. I do love the Blofeld characters. So of course that's where they got Dr. Evil was a definite ripoff of Blofeld in that movie. And I don't know. There's a lot in that movie that I just liked. I like Dr. No, believe it or not, a lot. I think that was a really good one right out of the gate too.
Yep, it was.
Thunderball, of course, is
yeah. If you watch Thunderball, you've spoken highly of it a couple times.
Probably, I guess, would be like almost my favorite out of the Sean Connerys.
Let me look at the list here.
And I still pull from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And not so much an adult, because I could see the nuances of these like this and Russia with Love. But it was the action ones and the gadget ones, and that's the ones I latch onto as a kid. And
as boys
immediately I love the space stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Why don't we do this? Why don't we? Well, in fact, we can kind of go in order a little bit. I mean, we didn't do Dr. No, or we didn't do whatchamacallit, From Russia with Love. But Thunderball is going to be celebrating its 60th because it came out in 65. So why don't we maybe either, next month in January or February, we can do that. We'll revisit and discuss Thunderball, the 60th anniversary.
Sure.
Yep. That would be a fun discussion.
We can for sure do that. But I'm still going to go watch the Lazenby one.
Yeah, definitely.
No, watch it. It's got Telly Savalas as the bad guy. It's awesome.
Oh, Telly Savalas. Okay.
Telly Savalas is the bad guy. He's another Blofeld.
He's Blofeld.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh.
But
is he supposed to be the same Blofeld that's in?
It is. It's supposed to be the same character. Yeah, it's just like there's different Felix Leiters, there's different Blofelds.
Because there's the one Blofeld that was played by the guy that was in Rocky Horror, that was narrating Rocky Horror. I can't forget the actor.
Oh yeah, Charles Gray.
Yep.
Where's your effing neck?
That was in Diamonds of Forever.
That was what they used to scream out in the theater whenever
Charles Gray as the criminologist.
Neck.
He had a neck. He was just wearing like a cravat.
It was what they did when you went. And
I know how it works. Yes, I am very, very familiar with the entire Rocky Horror extravaganza.
Just go ask Kent, because I know that's like his thing.
Yes,
isn't it?
and so Kent knows the entire.
Oh, is Kent a big Rocky Horror fan?
He likes to go, and I went one time and saw it in the theater at midnight. And that was enough.
I saw that back in 1983, and I am with you with that. Once and done. The first half of the movie
probably a little later than that.
The theatrical experience.
I want to say it was about 86 when I did it. This is the first time I ever saw the movie.
Yeah.
Let alone
once and done.
And I like the movie. Don't get me wrong; it's a great movie in its own right. But the whole theater experience I could live without.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Donald Clarence too.
Yes, Bill, and you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the one that they made into Nobody Never Say Never Again.
Never Again. Yeah, which was not good. That was terrible.
No, Thunderball, the original, was better.
Yeah.
Yes, Donald Pleasance. You mean Donald Pleasance? Yeah, played him well too. Exactly. So anyway, all right, I guess we can start to wind down. Folks, if you have any last minute comments you want to post, please do so. But I'm going to go to our shout outs. And with that, I'm going to share the screen. And it would be only appropriate to let Mike and Mary Beth say what they're doing, what you've got coming up. Because I know you're not doing anything on Christmas, right?
Right. No, Christmas Day, we're obviously off. So the next one would be New Year's Day. And we're trying to put together kind of a simulcast thing where y'all can watch we haven't picked the movie or the show, but we're going to either pick a movie or show that you guys can simulcast and watch with us. Not simulcast, but watch party. And then we're going to kind of do a mystery science.
We're going to kind of make fun of it.
Comment on it as we go. So you can watch us while you're watching the movie.
Which I know there's a bit of a delay. But we'll figure it out. We will make it work.
Somehow.
Be fun.
We're going to try to make that work. Beyond that, we don't have anything on our
plan ahead. Us? Have you met?
No, we don't plan ahead. Usually Monday, I'm figuring it out for Wednesday.
Yeah, I fall into that trap sometimes.
I like to watch over the weekend, Rizzo.
I give you a little more. All right, I give you a little more heads up. But that's all we got going on right now. Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't able to simulcast this, by the way, on our channel. I did figure that out.
Oh, cool.
Okay, cool. Thank you for doing that. So yeah, that's good. In fact, I forgot to mention that to you. So yeah, that's good. So team up with that. All right. So you guys are on Wednesdays, and it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it is Sci-Fi Distilled.
Yep.
And here I'm going to put you on the hot seat because I've noticed this on occasion. What is the name of the show that you are on tonight?
Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner.
Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner.
What is that? Not the name of your show? What's the name of your show?
I have seen
Tie-Dye Sci-Fi Corner. I'm looking at it right now.
I know, but I've seen so many variations when I've heard you guys say it. It cracks me up.
No, we just say
because we get too long, Roy. You're like
Roy's Tie-Dye Corner.
Say it's Roy's Corner. Can we just say Roy's Corner?
Roy's Tie-Dye Sci-Fi.
Just call it Roy's Corner. It's too long. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
It is a long.
Ah, shoot.
We're just gonna all right. Since he called us out, it's just Roy's Corner now.
Roy's way back memories.
What happened to Mike? Mike is gone.
Oh, he's being funny. All right. Remember that when you're on my show. Remember, I have an ejector.
You called me Roy's. You said it's Roy's Corner. I just put you in the corner.
You went right out the roof, Rizzo.
Hey, she's the one that always gives the shout out.
Yeah, I'm the one that does it.
If you want to blame anybody, blame her.
Yell at me. Yell at me.
All right. So now, the Mary Beth doesn't feel left out. Oh, shoot. Just trying to have some fun.
I do you and Phil, and that's really about it. That's all I do.
Yeah, because Fez hasn't done anything in forever.
Fez hasn't done anything. And there's, unless there's something special event coming up at the studio, I don't do anything.
How is Fez doing? I haven't talked to him forever either.
He's happily married.
Happily married.
Okay. Well, anyway, Mike and Mary Beth, Sci-Fi Distilled, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just want to give a shout out to Country Gate Players. This is the theater that I have belonged to for a very long time. My friend Bill Scarrato runs it. Actually, that's how Shari and I met. And they are in Belvedere, New Jersey. So check them out if you are local. And you can go to the website, which is www.countrygate.org. And I guess, talk about sharing stuff. I guess it would help if I put it on the screen. Also, you can go to Bill's webpage, which is www.billscarrato.com. Speaking of Captain Phil, Captain's schedule is on Friday nights from 9 to 11:30 p.m. Also, is he on Thursdays, Mary Beth, too?
He is, but he's on every other Thursday, and I believe, today's Friday, so it doesn't matter.
That's all good.
So yesterday, I don't think he was on, but that's okay.
That's all good. Okay, so there's Captain Phil. Now, the dates for William Shatner, I didn't update this.
No, this is correct.
Okay, so it's going to be June 27th, 28th, and 29th, and that is going to be at the Star Trek Original Series Set Tour, which is in Ticonderoga, New York.
Tickets on sale now.
Check the schedule, please.
Yeah, and watch for the schedule for this one because it's going to be different. If you've been before and don't think it's going to be the same schedule, it's going to be different.
Yeah, and if you haven't ever been up there, you want to be up there.
Get up there.
Definitely,
It is an amazing experience to see him there.
Yes.
In the captain's chair.
Yes.
And
his ship.
And I hate to say it, he's 93. We have no idea how many more of these he's going to be able to do.
And crazy to think he's going to be 94 next year.
He's in amazing shape, but you never, so don't, if you're on the fence, is what I'm saying, is maybe you don't want to wait.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, and also Trek Condoroga will be coming up next year, and it's going to be the 10th anniversary of Trek Condoroga, which is really, really cool.
Yes, we should try to make that special sometime.
Yeah, no, I mean, my God, I can't believe that's 10 years already.
I can't believe it either.
Is amazing.
I can't believe it either. Yeah,
would have been last year, but we had COVID.
We took a year.
Yeah. So anyway,
2020.
www.StarTrekTour.com. Definitely check it out. I want to give a shout out to my friend Jeffrey Morris for the Eagle Obsession. Go to the website for updates. This is going to be released next year. The website for that is www.eagledocumentary.com. Also, a shout out to Martha for Studio One Thrift. In regards to her online store, you can go to www.studioonethrift.com and make sure you register for quality, stylish, affordable clothing for men and women, and you receive styling tips as well. And there's also a physical store location, which is in Stroudsburg, outside of Stroudsburg. And also, I am also part of a podcast, which is the Space 1999 podcast, which is called This Episode. We are going to, the 8th episode was just released. We're going in production order. I'm doing this with my friend Warren Friedrich. And we just did The Guardian of Paris, which Catherine Schell had guest starred in the first season of Space 1999. That was released last Sunday. This Sunday, the episode to be released will be Force of Life, which is the episode that was had guest star Ian McShane, and you can check that out. It's on Facebook as well as YouTube. And then also I want to give a shout out to my son Ryan, who has his website, which is Run by Ryan. You go to www.runbyryan.com. You can receive online running coaching service tips. And make sure you register. It is free to register, but if you want to go to the next level, definitely check out the website. And then also a shout out to my friend Lou Place, who's in Rhode Island. He's out there tonight. He just released his movie Found in Space, and it is available to watch on YouTube. I will share that later. And again, it's available for streaming, and definitely had a lot of fun doing the film with Lou. And then also this film is called St. Nick of Bethlehem. It was shot in the Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania area, in this area. And it was directed by Spencer Fulmer and Daniel Roebuck. Daniel Roebuck, you may know if you are a Munsters fan. He played Grandpa Munster. He was also a regular on Matlock. And the website for that is www.stnickfilm.com. It is really a family-oriented Christmas film, so you definitely would want to check it out. And it is appearing throughout the country now. It's expanding. And then also a quick shout out to my friend and co-host, Mr. Ross Amico. Ross has 3 shows: Picture Perfect, which is on Fridays at 8 p.m., Sweetness and Light on Saturday at 11 a.m., and then The Lost Chord, which is on at 7 p.m. And you can visit Ross's Facebook page, which is Classic Ross Amico, and he gives teasers about the shows that he's doing as well. And in regards to that, if everything goes right, we will be doing the last episode of the year, which will be Sunday, December 27th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And hopefully Ross will be back and Shari will be joining us as well, too. So that will be not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. So stay tuned in regards to that. And Shari wanted me to put this up, Mike. She said, "Don't feel bad, Mike. You did that to me too when I was on the show."
I don't feel bad.
So anyway, just a little fun.
But thank you.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I just want to say thank you to both of you. This has been great. We've been doing these crossovers. I mean, we had been doing these off and on, but it's been really, really cool doing these the last month or so, where we've been doing these a lot more frequently. And it's been a heck of a lot of fun. And I really appreciate being on your show. And I appreciate you being on our show as well.
Absolutely.
So it's been
really
fun.
Always fun to do.
Always makes the conversation goes.
Yeah. We always, good combo and lots of laughs. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. So it's
got to get Ross back. We need the dry humor.
He because Ross and I are both like, we might going like crazy, and Ross is like so reserved.
Ross is the balance in
the
the
force. He must be like, what? You have these people on the show.
But he has to be one of the most polite people I've ever met.
He always sends a thank you.
He always sends like these long thank yous, and it's nice.
Yeah, no, Ross is a good guy. I've actually known Ross since 1981, which is crazy. So he's one of my. And we hadn't. I probably told this story already, but we hadn't seen each other probably like in 35 years, and then we got to reconnect during COVID, and it's crazy. But it'll be 5 years that he's been on in June as my as a part of the show, and so it's been really, really cool. So anyway, everyone out there, just want to wish you a Merry Christmas. If you're celebrating Hanukkah, happy holidays, and everything that's covered with that. And looking forward to seeing you after that. And thank you. Stay well. And as we always like to say, live long and prosper. And I know Mike and Mary Beth like to say
may the Lord be with you.
Exactly.
Happy holidays, guys.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Be safe.